Hello and welcome back to On the Workbench. Today we're starting a new series on the economics of tool buying. This is what I envision to be a three-part series of what we'll go with as Professor Workbench. Inspired by a number of comments I received in my past video regarding the lawsuits regarding Harbor Freight and Snap-on, and there's one comment in particular that particularly caught my mind by someone with a YouTube account who goes by the name of Peaches, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Referring to millions of kids going into massive debt for no good reason and worried about there being predatory businesses out there preying on particularly trade school students. And I saw her comments were echoed by a number of other commenters on the comment feed. So yes, I'm definitely reading your comments, and that got me thinking a lot about, what's going on in trade schools and trade school education these days. And it seems like there's a certain lack of financial education that goes with those that want to pursue technical trades full-time. And it was also inspired by Joel, the YouTuber behind the Snap-on Tool Review channel, who has a current Snap-on debt of $14,779.44 Canadian, or just about $10,776 American in debt. And if you read the comment section of his video, there's a number of other individuals that have tool bills that they owe to Snap-on or other tool trucks of the same or much greater amount. Some people owe zero, and we're proud to say that. And when people are talking about being that far in debt, it just starts raising eyebrows to me, especially when you consider what the earning potential is, especially right out of trade school for these jobs, and how much is this actually going to cost in interest, fees, charges, and all the other miscellaneous expenses that get added on. So I think a financial education is in order to be able to make sure that people are able to think level-headed and aren't thinking with a wrench stuck in their brain rather than their actual brain. So if we look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics from the U.S. government, and we look through and we look deep into the codes, the latest data I was able to find was from May 2016, so about a year ago, and looking at salary information for automotive service technicians, and the median hourly wage about $18.50. It works out to an annual wage of $38,470. The very top 90%, in other words, the top 10% basically are making about $64,000. The bottom 10% are making about $21,000. And so we think about the curve there of income, of what that means, and then you put that in context of how much some of these tool bills can quickly add up to, just has me very concerned, and for what that means for the decisions that some people are making. I'm not trying to be overly preachy. I just want to be educational with this video. And for those that are in the close cousin of this, looking at truck, bus, and diesel mechanics, their numbers are a little bit better or a little bit higher, but still enough to be concerned if you're racking up $10,000, $15,000 tool bills right out of trade school. And so if I want to set up a scenario here, if we've got a new mechanic that grosses about $32,410, I'm just going to throw that out there just as a guessing starting wage based on labor statistics numbers. And by the time we subtract out taxes, benefits, and the other mandatory government taxes that really are non-negotiable, the net salary, again, your situation may vary. Just based on this, I'd project that to be about $25,900 a year, which works out to about $2,158 a month, or just a little under $500 a week. Now, if we think about a monthly budget, and so if our net income per month is $2,158, the first part about that, if we consider about a third of our monthly income going towards housing and utilities, that means we can spend about $647 on rent, water, trash, electric, heating or cooling bill, telephone, and so forth. Remember to pay back any student loans you have from trade school. I'll estimate that to be about $300. And then that remains about another $1,200 for the month to be able to go for other debts that you have, credit card debts, tool bill debts, clothing, meals, entertainment, insurance, car expenses, tools, savings, investing, so on and so forth. And if you don't think smartly about your money, if you're going into a career field like this, you're going to get in deep trouble really quickly financially, and that's not going to be any fun. And that's really what I want to prevent with this video, and just to make people stop and just think about how you're spending your money and what you're spending it on, and is it actually worth it, and how this actually kind of plays out over the long haul. And so what's left in that weekly budget, we got things like meals, clothing, entertainment, car expenses, insurance, and I'm just ballparking some of these numbers here to guess. I haven't even thrown in here anything like a car payment that some people may have, of about $92.75 remain on a weekly basis. And I think about a lot of these tool trucks that try to market products to you on, oh, it only works out to so many dollars a week. Well, if you've only got $92.75 that remain in a weekly budget, and as you'll see in part 3 when we get into a few more examples of where this works out to for how some of these scenarios might play out, being left with about $92 a week, just for other blow money, for savings, for investing, and just think about the opportunity costs of your decisions, these budgets are going to be really tight. I'm just trying to level with you and be honest with you on these salaries, that we've got to be real and we've got to be honest and just kind of face the facts that, you don't want to be eating rice and beans every day. And so, yeah, I understand you're going to have to buy tools. I love buying tools too. I think we all love buying tools. That's why you watch my channel and you watch a bunch of other channels, because, well, we might possibly have a tool addiction, and that's okay. But we have to be able to do it fairly, make sure we got our families taken care of, other debt obligations satisfied. We're able to be able to have a rainy day fund and some savings and investing to be able to plan for the future and to be able to plan for the unknown. And so that comment that I mentioned in the very beginning of the video from the individual who went by the name of Peaches focused on one particular brand, and I don't want to focus too much on them, but we'll start there anyway. So Snap-on has what they call a student excellence program that targets primarily trade school individuals, allows you to rack up $9,700 worth of tools based on list price. You can get a discount of about $50 or so. And they also conveniently offer a special financing that doesn't even care if you actually have a job right now yet. So think about that. $9,700 worth of debt without a job, 90 days to pay, and based on a 48 months. We'll come back to that 48 months in one of the later parts of this series when I start talking about some examples. So $9,000 worth of debt before you even have a job. But you've got to be really careful for how you're spending your money, especially when you consider what the interest rate might be on this. You've got to read the fine print, because if you don't, you're going to be in a world of trouble quicker than you think. Matco has a student program that they call the Tech Ed program that basically offers tools at about half price or so. You have to be able to sign up with a valid email account from a participating institution. Mac also has a student program, about 50% off retail on their products. They'll allow you to be able to buy about $7,500 worth of products. And you can order any item as long as it's, now I think this is the kicker here, about trying to encourage you to have to buy items or make purchases worth at least $200. So we're not talking about buying a $50 set of sockets, a $50 ratchet. We start talking $200 here and we start throwing around Benjamins left and right. We've got to make sure we keep track with our head and not with that wrench that's stuck between our ears. So Mac Tools doesn't charge for shipping, so that's actually good. I mean, obviously, a lot of Mac tools are available via a tool truck as well. They also require the use of a special order form. Okay, minor details. Now, it's interesting, on the Mac Tools website, they actually have a question and answer page that says, how do I pay for my tool order? And I thought this was especially interesting, where they harp about the best way to pay is with a credit card. Credit card doesn't even have to be the student's, as long as the card holder gives their permission for the charge. Payments can be made via money order or check if no credit card is available. Really? Do we really need to be pushing a credit card that hard? I almost think that's borderline irresponsible. If you can pay cash or pay with other means, that's going to be far wiser than paying on credit. Craftsman, everyone's longtime favorite tool company, also has a student program. There's no trucks for this, and you have to sign up. There's some terms and conditions that apply of having a valid student ID. You only get one initial offer. You have to join the Craftsman Club, but whatever, that's kind of petty. It excludes certain items and sale prices, and the original or the initial 50% off coupon has to be redeemed online due to abuse. Okay, no big deal. So if you're in trade school, you need tools. You got to have tools to do the job. If you're going to graduate, you got to get tools. I get it. So we have to think about how can we wisely buy tools while in school. That's really the whole point of this video. So if you qualify for a student loan, and just about everyone I would suspect would qualify for some sort of funding, and if you're going to a school that actually doesn't qualify or is not eligible for federal funds, you really need to get out of there because that's a sign of a bad institution. ITT Technical Institute closed down recently when their eligibility for federal loans came in question, which really calls into question the value of the degrees they're pumping out. And so if you're eligible for student loans, this is the opportunity to think about wisely using debt. That the interest rates can be much cheaper than with credit. And if you combine it with student discounts that you get through the student programs I talked about earlier, this is where we can be able to leverage the student opportunity that you've got with a financial opportunity that you have. And it's important to strategically buy tools based on what you need, not on the brand name, not necessarily on emotion, but thinking about what do you need, what's the order you need to buy them, and how can you manage your cash flow as your loans might come in semester by semester. Now, you've got to keep the grades up. You've got to be able to keep going through it in advance because the worst situation you can have is going in debt with student loans, but dropping out of school and having nothing to show for it. Because that's a whole nother video topic if you end up in that boat. But at least you could sell your tools as an asset to at least help alleviate some of the debt. Think about online shopping, local stores. I'll talk more about this later. And so with the student loans, and the reason why this might be the most advantageous way to make some of those initial investments if you're getting into the automotive repair trade is because student loan interest may be tax deductible. You need to talk with an IRS individual, refer to IRS publications, talk with a tax professional. But in general, based on guidance from 2016 and before, about $2,500 a year of interest may be tax deductible if your income is under $80,000 single or $160,000 if you're married and filing jointly. Based on Bureau of Labor statistics information, you should most certainly qualify for this. And so basically be able to deduct that interest that on your tools off of your taxes is going to be a net win for you in the long haul for how you're minimizing your total tool cost and acquisition costs. Now that means while you're in school, you've got to live cheap. That's the time, think about rice and beans. Think about if you can live with a family member, have roommates. What can you do to cut back on your expenses so that you can maximize what you can do with student loans? Generally with student loans, they'll get paid to the school, and the school will take out their piece of what you owe in tuition, and then you'll get a check from the school back that you can put in your bank account. And then with that in your bank, you can then spend that theoretically on whatever you want. But we've got to be smart about it. And if you're going to get a student loan money, let's put that towards what you actually need. That can be books, that can be tools, especially if you're in trade school. Tools are essentially a very close cousin of books. They're almost like the pencils for a regular college. A few caveats though, if you got student loans, even if you go into bankruptcy for whatever reason, generally student loans cannot be discharged and you're still going to be held accountable for them. The federal loans and Pell Grants may be available to you. Now for the federal money, you need to be able to apply by July 1st of each year with the federal application for free student aid. And that's going to be due by July 1st of each year. Now, as a caveat to that, that means you have to have your taxes filed on time by April 15th or whatever the appropriate deadline for that year is. because you're going to need the numbers off of your tax form to be able to fill out your FAFSA form. If you're not filing your taxes, that's a whole separate discussion. We need to be above board and file our taxes. There's no excuse for not doing it. And so the interest rates for federal student loans are publicly available. They're subsidized by the U.S. government to some extent and generally have much more favorable terms than private lenders. And so when you look at student loans, a couple other important facts to be aware of is that repayment begins about 6 months after you leave school. Hopefully that means 6 months after you graduate. But if you drop out and you're out of school for more than 6 months, you've got to start making payments on your student loans. That's also not an excuse to stay in school forever, to be fair. They also may offer other repayment options. Different servicing agents that will manage your student loans may be able to make income-based repayment options available. So as you expect to make more and more over your career, your payment might increase. You have to talk about that with your student loan servicer for options related to that. If for some reason you lose your job, you're not able to get a job, you're between jobs, you may be able to get some temporary deferral on your student loans. If you have private loans or credit card debt, that is not going to be an option for you, but student loans may be able to have some temporary deferral. And if you're deployed as a member of the military, you may also be able to get some other deferral situations. But in all cases, you need to make sure you're in communication with your lender to make sure that you're able to take advantage of the appropriate options and they're all documented and your account is above board. And so if student loans is the how we can get the money to do this, we have to think responsibly about what we're going to use that money on. We're not going to get an unlimited amount of money. We're going to have a limited amount of money. We've got to be able to get ourselves through trade school. And we have to think about what do we reasonably need to do, the current types of work that's going on. As you master new skills and you're making more money, you can use cash to be able to finance your next round of tool purchases and tool upgrades. Just bear in mind that many tool companies simply rebrand other manufacturers' tools as their own or have the same product within multiple lines. So you've got options for where you want to purchase something. And ultimately, the name on the tool or the color of the tool means nothing if it doesn't actually make you money. That's the point of a job, is to actually make money. And if the tools you're buying are not making you money, you've got to second guess, why are you buying that tool? So that means we have to plan for our tools. As best as possible, plan your work ahead of time. If you know you've got a Volkswagen or an Audi job coming up, you probably need some triple squares. And if you need triple squares, think about where you're going to buy those. If you can buy those online, probably save some money. Don't get forced in the situation where you need to buy something right here, right now, off the tool truck, with no other option available for you to be able to complete that task on time. Now, I know you can't always plan as best as possible, but just use your brain and don't let a wrench get stuck between your ears. It's also important to be familiar with specialty tools that are needed for various makes, models, and repairs. Whether it's a specialty water pump tool or a specialty tool for a serpentine belt, a pulley remover, or whatever the job that's going on. Just be aware of what you might need for those jobs, because you can really be in a pinch with certain repairs if you don't have a specific specialty tool that you also may need to budget for. And in some cases, many shops may actually have a common pool of specialty tools that you can share. I know. Sharing tools, that makes us all a little anxious, but if we can share the burden of the cost, that's okay. It's okay. Again, you gotta budget your money. Talk to your coworkers. Maybe they've got a tool that you can share. I buy this, you buy that. We can get ourselves through trade school as you're getting started in your career. You can borrow this tool, borrow that tool. You do not need to own every tool there is right here, right now, right out of the gate. Now, using credit is actually okay, but you've got to be careful with it. Credit is a tool that we have to use wisely. Just like you don't take a chrome socket and keep smashing it with a hammer and putting it on a size that doesn't really fit and expect it to work right without stripping off the heads, think the same way about your credit card. If you need to buy something right now, and if there's no return on investment, you need to think twice about it. If all of a sudden, if you see an opportunity to make some more money by investing in a new tool to do a slightly more profitable job, okay, that's maybe a good thought. Is there a way you can sell off an old tool and go to a new tool for a marginally more expense? Maybe. But just think about it. Use the brain between your ears, and don't let that turn into just a wrench. It's important to also be familiar with the landscape in your town and the landscape of the tools and what's available to you. With smartphones in our pockets these days, it's easy for you to look up how much a tool actually costs and if there's a competitor version or maybe even a better version out there that might be better able to do the task you need. An example that comes to my mind right now is a set of disc caliber retractor tools. You can find those in 11-piece kits, 21-piece kits, 22-piece kits with left-hand reversing screws, without left-hand thread reversing screws. What's the kit that you actually need? You might be able to find a better kit for less money online before you're being fed, just a line and a sales pitch by some guy who's got you trapped on a truck. So online tool shopping is certainly an option. You get Amazon, Zorro, and a variety of other online retailers. Especially Amazon. If you're a Prime member, you can get next day or 2-day delivery relatively quickly. So even if you get up to a pinch, you might be able to have an out with that. Just think about that. That phone in your pocket that you're paying for every month, that's another tool in your aid that you can use to help save yourself some money if you use it wisely. Also know the landscape of your local stores. There are many auto parts stores that deliver parts to shops. Well, they can also usually deliver tools too. If you need something, you walk around like a Napa auto parts store, you'll find lots of other tools. And Napa delivers to many automotive stores. Just have to ask and think about it. What other assortments of tools are available around town? You got a Home Depot, a Lowe's, a Menards, like Meyer, for example. I know they're not a nationwide chain, but they sell a lot of Tecton tools at a very reasonable price. Menards has a lot of American-made Masterforce tools. That's kind of surprising, and hard to find. I know they're actually kind of disappearing from Menards if you're in the Midwest. Know your other local retailers. Make sure you walk around. That maybe you don't have it in the morning, but you can run out over lunch and go get something that you need and come back, rather than waiting for the guy on the truck to show up. And if your concern is about a warranty, well, chances are your truck guy might only show up once or twice a week, but these stores are open after hours. You can stop by after work, do a warranty exchange, and be ready to go the next day, rather than waiting on someone to show up with a truck to your doorstep at work. So if we look at the rebranded tool example, I think one of my favorite examples of this involves a master thread restorer kit. So this comes in about a 48-piece variety. You can see here I've got a Snap-on and a Craftsman kit pictured side by side. They're virtually identical. The Craftsman kit goes for $64.99. Matco has one that's $132.95. And Snap-on's $142.95. With a little bit of thought, we can think about how much we're spending, and what I believe to be the OEM on this to be either Lang, which is now the parent of K-Star Tools, sells it on Amazon for about $62. And so with a little bit of thinking, we can save some money here. When we're talking about a difference of just under $80, $80, that's a lot of money. If you've got $92 left over to spend in a month, well, the $142 payment probably doesn't work, but the $64 one might do it, or even better at $62. Again, it's not the name on the tool, it's the tool itself that's getting the job done. Something else to pay attention to are what I'll call multi-line tool brands. So one of the biggest companies that kind of dabbles in this territory is Stanley Black & Decker, which owns, among other brands, DeWalt, Proto, Mac, Porter Cable, Stanley, Black & Decker, Bostitch, Vacom. And so they've got their hands in a wide variety of markets. And you'll notice like Mac and Proto, there's quite a few tools that overlap between the two, and the only real difference is the color of the tool. So for example, you can get a 6-piece set of Proto screwdrivers for $75.41, a Mac set of screwdrivers for $109.99. Now the Proto ones are only available in one color scheme, which is basically black and gray with a red cap. The Mac ones are available in several color options of green that I've got here, red, and a handful of others. But we're talking almost $35 worth of difference here just for the color alone for what's effectively the same screwdriver. And then DeWalt, which has a handle that's shaped very similar, offers a slightly larger screwdriver set for about 1/3 of the price of the Proto set. So if we just do a little bit of thinking here, where can we get the best bang for our buck and return on investment? You know, do you need the Mac screwdriver set, or does the DeWalt one get you by? Now, I know when it comes to certain tools that might be prone to wearing out more, you know, those are places that you might think about investing better, or spending a little bit more money. You know, one other thing that comes to mind, if you're looking at like 10mm sockets, those are used quite a bit. You know, maybe you get away with a Craftsman set of sockets, but then you buy the one 10mm short and 10mm deep socket from Snap-on to get a better quality socket for a couple very specific sizes that you know you'll use a lot of. That makes sense. Do you need all of your sockets to be ultra premium right out the gate? Probably not. And most likely you probably can't afford it. It's going to be wiser to be able to have a larger assortment of tools than it is to have the best tools but fewer of them. And in this case, a Proto, Mac, and DeWalt, all these have an identical lifetime warranty. So again, let's think with our brain and don't let a wrench get stuck between our ears. You know, we can also think about used tools. We can get used tools all around town locally or even online. Think about pawn shops might have used tools. eBay. You can find some great deals on eBay of people that have mislabeled tools that don't know exactly what they've got, and all they want to do is just unload them for some quick cash. If you can watch eBay, you can snag some pretty good deals. Craigslist, got to be a little careful there and make sure that you're being safe and smart for how you're doing it. The Facebook Marketplace, this is one of my newer favorite places looking for used tools because you can actually see the person's profile and a little bit about them. That makes you feel a little more comfortable compared to Craigslist, but you've got to use your own bit of streetwise sense for knowing how to deal with Craigslist. You got local flea markets, garage sales that might have tools. You'd be surprised at how many people around town, you know, might keep a toolbox full of Snap-on tools in their garage for whatever reason. They're retired tech. They got out of it for whatever reason and just looking to unload their tools and be able to exchange that for some cash they can spend on something else. And almost all tool lifetime warranties can be transferred without a receipt. You just have to be able to hand it over to a dealer, you know, when it becomes defective and say, hey, I want to claim the warranty on this. So even if it's beat up a little bit and broken, sometimes that's an even better opportunity given the lifetime warranty that someone might not be willing to do. Like if you find an old Mac tool that's beat up and out of use, you know, you could probably offer pennies on the dollar for it and then be able to warranty it out with your Mac guy. You know, just think about it. You know, what are ways that we can be smart with our money and how we're spending it? Now, one word of caution, you know, particularly for Snap-on toolboxes, but this applies for others, is that in the sales paperwork that goes with toolboxes, and this gets a fair bit of attention online when this happens, and I would be remiss to leave this out, that the sales contracts on these boxes often state, you know, kind of like real estate or a car, that the box is the property of the lending company or the tool company until it is paid off and free and clear. And so as a result of that, because some of these toolboxes can get ridiculously expensive, they can be legally repossessed from underneath you, right out of the shop with your tools in them, because you have what they see as basically stolen property because it's not being paid for. And there's a lien against the box that that companies owed money for, and so they can repossess your box legally. You know, it's all based on the fine print that goes around the agreements that people signed when they got it. So if you're thinking about buying a used toolbox, particularly one that comes from a major name brand, look for the serial number and find a phone number for the manufacturer's customer service. And before you hand over any cash or exchange anything to close a deal, make sure you know that the box is free and clear and able to be sold. The last thing you want to be sitting on is basically someone's stolen toolbox that's able to get repossessed right out from underneath you. That's just a liability that you just don't want to have. So I want to thank you for your time so far. If you've got any questions about what I've talked about today, please put them in the comment section below. I'll see what I can to answer them either in the comments or in the upcoming video. This is probably going to be a 3-part series the way I've got it envisioned right now. So I thank you for watching and have a great day. Bye.